Hello. Okay, I guess it's time for me to get back to it. Did a little bit of streaming this morning. Didn't feel like I got too far, but that's okay. Continue with the streaming today. I'm going to continue with the painting today. See how far I can really push. Actually, now that the angle's right, I could really just put it here, can't I? See how far I can push this. Let's go ahead and get rid of that. Perfect. Now, I will say, I kind of want to go back on the flames and blend them a little better, because right now they're very stark, and I don't like that. I also need to go ahead and pull back up some information now that I think about it. Let's see. I got some guidance from the client about what I need to change and what I need to adjust, which is blessedly not a lot, because so far they seem to like what I've got going on. So I'm going to go ahead and check that out. See what I can do. And these would be silver. Okay. That is not what I wanted. That is what I wanted. Explain text. Oh, let's see what happened with the mentions. Nothing too important. That's fine. So that's what she wanted there. Slash silver. Okay. Just keeping a chat log of what needs to be done. Okay. I think that's good enough. That gives me quite a bit of information. Now let's go ahead and see what I can do. Let's see, I think I want to toy around a little bit more with the flame effects a bit, because like I said, they're a little more pale, or they're a little more sudden than I would like, the transitions. So I'm going to go ahead and work on those just a smidgen and see if I can make them a little more smooth, make them look a little bit more wispy, bring out a little more of that whimsy in them, you know what I mean? And then I'm going to get to work on, I feel like the next thing I should do is, actually no, I've got to do the that face right there, because the client specifically requested that I make that have the flame effect as well. And everything else is going to be silvered, which I think is going to look super neat. My mind immediately goes to making them fleshy, because they have that very skin look to them. But I feel like making them look metallic is going to be really cool. So I'm going to follow their lead on that. Just going to mix up some paints. And then I'm going to get back to work on smoothing out the flames and working on some of the other ones. So, I think what's going to have to happen is, let's take the brush, wet it down a little bit, and pray that I'm able to get what I'm looking for out of some of these other colors. Get some water on there. Get this all the way down to a glaze if I can. Let's see if I can kind of cross blend a little bit of this in, because I want this to be a little bit more gentle a transition. Because right now, if you look at the flames, they're very stark. And I think that looks a little amateurish. So I'm going to go back over everything with a glaze to see if I can kind of tone it all back down into a much more smooth transition between the colors, you know what I mean? And this is going to be interesting, because I don't fancy myself as very particularly skilled with glazes. So we're going to see exactly what I'm able to pull off with my limited skill set here. And I mean, blessedly, I keep saying blessedly, what is wrong with me today? So I'm going to go ahead and go back over all of it as though I'm going with a glaze. And then I'll pull all of the colors back down tonally. Kind of like a wash, right? And then if I need to, I can kind of build some back up. But right now, I just want to hit it all with a little bit of this purple. And bring it all back down. And merge it a little bit together. And then hopefully from there, I'll be able to build it back up with some less stark highlighting. We'll see. But that's all I'm going to work on right now before I go and hit the biggest one, which is the arm cannon. Yeah, I think this is giving it a little bit more vibrancy to it. There we go. And I can probably glaze on some white again if I really want to bring the colors back out. Okay. Let's blur the lines a bit. I gotta say, the thing that most intrigues me about this mini is the ridiculous, and I mean ridiculous, amount of trim. There's gonna be some neat stuff going on with that when I get to it. And especially since the trim is also, you know, tiny, it also means that doing non-metallic metals is going to be a much easier prospect because I'm not going to have anywhere near as much space to cover. So the reflections and shines can be a little closer together, and it'll be harder to notice when I screw it up. Not that I'm going to screw it up, of course. I'm going to do the best I can. There we go. Yeah, that definitely blends it together better. Might have knocked it down a little too much though, so what I'm going to do is take some white, add it back in there, see if I can glaze some of that white back in. Stark. I actually really like how that looks. So that's what we're going to play with on some of this. Bring some of that white back out. We're going to use a very thinned down version of it as something of a glaze. And see if that helps. Bring some of that warp fire highlight back into the model. I gotta say, this leg is a hassle to paint. But that's okay. Is it gonna work for me? Work for me? Yeah. I think this version of the warp fire sells a little better than the previous one I had. Just need a little bit of glaze on top of it to really sell. This was kind of smeared in. Hopefully, I'll give the client another look at this and say, hey, I did this to kind of merge all the colors together, and then I brought it back out with the white. Hopefully they're going to like it okay. I suppose we'll see when I get back to them. But I do think this definitely reads substantially cleaner. Oh, my goodness. Hello there. Hey, QB, how you doing? I'm painting over it to make the whites brighter. I'm the OxyClean. Thanks for popping in and saying hi. I appreciate it. At some point, we're going to have to find a way to merge our cameras so that we can do, like, shared painting space together, and that'll be fun. And now you're going to be in my VOD on the YouTube. That being said, I do get people watching on YouTube, and so people watching on YouTube, when you finally see this, if you choose to see this, please visit Art by QB's Etsy store. I would greatly appreciate it. She's got cool stuff on there, and I'm going to shamelessly advertise her because she's my wife. So if you give me a second. One moment, I'll be right back. I need to plug, not plug, I keep saying that. I need to advertise for my wife because I love my wife and I want to advertise for her. Wabam. Wabam. And we're gonna do this. 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 Boom. There we go. Your sound was muted. Well, that's no good. Yeah, I'm just gonna pretend like I hadn't been talking. Yes, I'm advertising you now. And so now, your link is once again in the chat. So that'll hopefully remind me when I export this to YouTube's to put it in the description. Because advertising my wife is cool. You ain't cool till you advertise for your wife. So the client asked me to paint flames on this part, on the cannon. And I'm not quite sure how she wanted them, how they wanted them. I still am not sure of their gender, but how they wanted them on there. So I'm going to try something and send it to them and be like, is this okay? Is this what you want? And then they can tell me, yes, that's exactly what I was thinking of. Or no, way off. I was expecting them to look like X. And either way will be fine. I am perfectly fine with redoing this based on their vision. But it's definitely going to have an interesting look. Because they explicitly, when they noticed it wasn't painted... Thank you. You have fun too listening to your music. That was my wife, everyone. She's super cool and I love her. You should go support her with her cool D&D stuff. But beyond that, I'm gonna hope that she likes, that the client, they like whatever I end up doing with this. But if they don't and they want me to change it, I will gladly do so. Because that's part of the fun. That's part of the fun of doing this commission painting. I actually thoroughly enjoy getting the feedback and making modifications based on what the client wants. Because, as I've mentioned before, it really gives me impetus to get better. Because I'm probably going to try to do it the way that I know best and the way that is easiest for me. And so, that's not always going to be the most interesting way, you know? And so if someone comes up to me and says, hey, I like what you did, but I want it like this, it's like, okay, cool. I have to learn a new skill. Like, I didn't know I could paint flames. I've tried it before and they've turned out okay. But it's like, yep, that's as far as I'm going with painting flames. And then this client was like, hey, I want you to paint all the flames. And for me, it's just like, bet. I'm going to go ahead and paint all the flames now. I think the only issue, the only concern I would have with the flames on the face is that there's so much detail and contour to how the face is shaped and all the wrinkles that I feel like we're going to lose a lot of that if I were to try and paint this as a face. So what I think I'm going to have to do is I'm going to paint the flames, and then underneath the flames I'm going to try and highlight different bits and bobs. I might use the highlight. Actually, no, I know what I'll do. On the parts that are brightest or ridged where there would be shadow, that's where I'll go ahead and put the flames on there. The lightest parts of the flames. That seems like a good idea. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. And we'll see how that turns out. But right now, I'm going to do a slow color transition between black to purple to pink to white. And we're going to see how this looks. Hopefully it's going to turn out okay. The good news is that everything's so faint, I can kind of do some really sharp, like, flamey spires and whatnot coming off of this. And it should read okay. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit all that. Go ahead and hit that. Hit it like so. I want to offer promotion to your channel. Viewers, followers, views, chatbots. The price is lower than any competitor. The quality is guaranteed to be best. Auto on, incredibly flexible and convenient. Order management panel. Everything is in your hands. Go to something. I've got a better idea. Give me money. I don't want you on there. Please go away. Thank you. I would much rather prefer money over advertising because I don't want bots. Bots are dumb. What I want is I want viewers who enjoy my content.
If there are people that use bots and they're helpful to them and they have good experiences with them, cool. But that's not what I'm looking for. I'm not here to make a ton of money. I'm not here to try and become the next whatever midwinter mini guy. I just want to paint, and I would like for people to enjoy the painting and to be inspired to paint their things. Because if they see a knucklehead like me doing it, they're like, I hope they feel like they can do it themselves. That's my dream. Someone to see what I'm doing and go, well, if that idiot can do it, anyone can. Including me. I'm gonna go paint minis now. And I can be like, yes, I helped people do things that they find fun and that I find fun. And I gotta say, what I think is kind of cool is just how good this color palette is turning out. I will also say, I'm a wee bit sad that so far the only 2 viewers I've had have been my wife, which has been great. I was really not expecting to see her, and that was super cool. And a bot who wants to advertise fake people. Like, I can't talk to fake people. I tried that as a kid. I owned a Furby. It did not go well. And then I forgot it existed, and I put it in my closet. And then I pulled it back out, and the battery was just alive enough for it to have his eyes half rolled in his head. And for him to make a single droning noise of eh, which was honestly a little terrifying. So, I think that Furby is now in a landfill somewhere. Which by Toy Story rules is really sad. Toy Story rules is really sad. But by I don't want to have an evil possessed Furby in my house is pretty darn good. But I mean, I was also like 14 or 15 at the time. I was not the smartest individual. So the idea of just taking the batteries out or replacing it with new batteries was a little foreign to me. I was not a bright child. That's a lie. I was fairly smart. I was just lazy. But that's okay. We're going to go ahead and see what we can do about continuing up the line on this with sharper details. There we go. There we go. Okay. Now we'll go into the actual hot pink. Let's see what can happen there. See if maybe going into the hot pink will... Yeah, that definitely zhuzhed it up a bit. Now again, I'm just kind of making this up as I go along. I have no idea whether this is going to look good when it's done. I hope so. I hope the client likes it, but I'm trying to alleviate my own personal anxiety by talking about or making excuses for if it looks bad. It's not going to look bad. I'm a good enough painter for that. That being said, one of my favorite things to do, and this just shows you how far I've come as a person, is that I love looking up other painters and seeing their techniques. When I was younger, I used to hate trying to learn from other people unless it was something I was super duper interested in. And so, especially, and if it was slower too. And so the fact that I'm getting to a point now where I can't stop watching like Juan Hidalgo miniatures and Jose Da Vinci and Sergio, I think, goodness, is it Sergio Martinez, or am I thinking of a boxer? Who knows? But anyway, my point is that I'm having a lot of fun just kind of learning from these master painters with their amazing techniques and all the other fun stuff. And it makes me happy that I've reached that level of intellectual curiosity where finding those things is enjoyable. But right now, all I'm doing, it's not much to talk about if anyone is actually interested in figuring out what I'm doing. I'm doing a simple layering, so I'm just taking a little bit of paint and putting it on the flame, but going a little lower each time, which should hopefully create an effect where as I get closer to the source of the flame, it gets brighter, right? And as it gets brighter, it creates this effect of seeing that, like, the light... Actually, this is going to work really well for a muzzle burn, too. Because the barrel is right there, which, now that I look at it, I forgot to fade or edge highlight. I'll get to that in a second. But it definitely creates a situation in the model where it looks like the light source is closer to the front of the gun as opposed to the back.
And that's kind of what we want to do. We want to make it look like the heat source is closer to the front, because that's where the base of the flame is, right? The further away you get from the flame, the richer the other light gets, because it's whiter as it gets closer. Oh man, I had one of those sneaky boogers on my paintbrush. If you've ever painted before, you'll notice that like water will gather on the ferrule and will just be on there, and then it'll drip into your paint and ruin a mixed job, or will ruin a spot on the model that you're trying to paint very carefully. And one of those just got in there. That's okay. So we're gonna go ahead, same kind of thing, hit all of this. I think I'm getting pretty close to the point where edge highlighting might be necessary with the tip, because we're starting to get to a point where I need to and want to highlight details on this mini. Which, of course, I'm doing the absolute wrong way by choosing the fattest part of the brush to do it. Or the fattest part of the tip. So, I'm gonna change that a little bit. Let's see. Go ahead and hit that in there, hit that in there. See, this is where having good brush angle helps too. I struggle with that a lot because I kind of get caught up in what I'm doing. But one of the things you most need to be concerned about is the angle that your brush is hitting the paint, or the model, so that you don't accidentally use too thick a part of the brush and leave a ridiculously hefty, chonky line that you didn't need, right? And unfortunately, I keep doing that because this brush, the tip curled on it a while ago, which is definitely not good. You can mitigate it and you can work around it. Hey, Risky Paints, thanks for the raid. Good to see you guys. How was your stream? What kind of fun projects were you up to? Right now, Niskratis, hi. How's it going? I'm really zeroed in on trying to like highlight this up into like a flame motif. So apologies if I sound distracted, but just kind of working on this Demon Prince as a commission. The client really wanted Risky Raid. It was a risky raid, but you succeeded. So congratulations to you, sir. But they wanted flame motifs going across a lot of the Demon Prince, so I'm trying to do my best. Thanks, Stu. Good. Thanks, Stu. Been painting some 40k orcs for a commission too. Very cool. I've got a friend who is really into orcs, and he really enjoys the kit bashing aspect of them. So his Stompa, for example, he can't afford a real one. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you, Niskratis. Thank you for saying it looks like fine work. I'm trying my best. They paid me, or they asked for top tier painting. Haha. Look at you go. Thanks for the follow. I appreciate it. Because my commission rates, you know, are basically they're Warhammer themed. So they're tabletop plus, and parade. And they asked for parade level. Yeah, thank you. Appreciate it, Niskratis. Thank you for the follow. Sorry, my brain died. And so they wanted, you know, the most detail I could put out on this model. So that's what I'm really trying to do, is do the best job that I can. But they asked for a lot of skills that I'm still kind of learning. Or either that, or I'm severely underselling myself. But one of those was flame effects. And so I'm trying my best. And hopefully it's turning out okay. But yeah, my buddy, he's playing the orcs and he loves them, but he doesn't have a lot of money to buy them. So a lot of his vehicles, he's got them to about the approximate size, but they are all things like converted Hot Wheels and whatnot that he's found. And so like he has a truck that is, thank you, I appreciate it. He has a truck that's like a UPS truck or a USPS truck that he's basically converted into an orc transport. And he can't afford a Stompa, so instead of doing that, he bought a Mr. Potato Head and converted it so it became a Stompa.
and it's probably my favorite model in all of 40k. He calls it the Potato Masher. Did similar things with their orcs. Yeah, I feel like it's kind of a rite of passage if you're playing orcs. You've really got to at least kit bash a little bit of it. If you don't, then you're going about it all wrong and you don't have the right philosophy. And of course, you know, that's just being sarcastic, but that's kind of what it feels like when I see people who play orcs. If they don't have something weird in their orc army, then they have not gone deep enough into the orc, you know, wow. I think my favorite thing though is that for Christmas he was visiting from Michigan, and I'm in Virginia. I'm down in the Shenandoah Mountains in Roanoke, but he was visiting from Michigan, and I don't see him very often anymore. So I really wanted to make him something neat, and what I ended up doing was printing out Station Forge's Orca's Mega Steppa. And I put that thing together over a couple of weeks and assembled and painted it, and did so with the crew too. And I ended up giving it to him and telling him, "Here's a base. Do what you want with it." These empty paint pots into killer cans. That's fantastic. I've seen people do that with Space Marines more recently, but that makes perfect sense. I've never actually seen a killer can in person though. Are they the right size? I'd figure so because that's what he was doing. But that's really cool. Yeah, I like to joke that everyone's second favorite army is orcs, if it's not their first. And I've been wanting to make an orc army for years now, and I have not gotten the courage to do so. So hopefully, someday, especially now that I have all these Orcaz models from Station Forge, I'll gather up the gumption to do that. Though, to be honest, I think I just want to paint a bunch of messy boys and go nuts with them. I think that's really what the appeal is just having fun making junkyard racers and the like. Okay, I hope that this is going to read as fire. I think it reads as fire. I think it reads fairly fiery enough. Maybe a little bit more pure into the white. Okay, let's go just absolutely pure white and see how that works. Because this is such a neat model, and these are such neat colors that we got going on here. Let's hope I don't ruin this thing by, you know, going a little too hard into the contrast. Now, if I recall properly, you don't need a whole lot of white. It can be at the very bottoms, and it will help sell the idea of increasing brightness. Oh, accidentally put a glint in his eye. The same thing on the... Oh gosh, that just made them a lot more frightening to look at. So you mentioned you're a commissioned painter too. That's really neat. How big is this commission you're working on? How many orcs are you painting? I'm assuming 1 million of them, because it seems like all orc players need a dump truck worth of orcs to be done. Or are you doing 1 or 2 models really, really carefully? Come on, get in there. Yeah, there we go. I think that flame work will work okay. Though I feel like the rest of the arm is kind of being lost in that flame. I wonder if I should have gone back further. I'll talk to the client and ask them what they think, and if they think I should go back further, nope, screw it. I'm going back further. They're getting much more flame up in this thing, so we're gonna go ahead and push the flame back a whole lot further, almost to the horns in the back. Because I feel like leaving that much of it without flame is going to really detract from the flame itself. This is the largest one the guy I do a lot of work for has an eBay store, so he outsources his painting work so that he sells them on It's Nothing Crazy. Got an orc boss, a pain boy, 5 burners, 5 tank buses, 5 flash kits, and an orc truck. That's really neat. I know I've seen some advertisements on Facebook for, I think it's Facebook, might be Instagram, for a company in Britain that's looking for more painters because they kind of grew faster than expected. And so they've got a whole lot of projects and staff that they need filled. And I kind of thought about it, except I live, like I said, in the United States, so there's no way I'd be able to. Oh, and 2 bomb squigs. Of course, can't forget the bomb squigs. Never, never, never forget the bomb squigs. But yeah, this is obviously a hobby for me. The commission painting is just to kind of, you know, make some more money on the side. I'm a school teacher by day, and so I can't really commit to something the size and scale of a guy called War Daddies. I'm doing some work who's UK based, same as me. Well, cool. Nice to know that I've got another follower, another viewer, another person to talk to from across the pond. It seems like most of the people that frequent my channel and that have shown up, which, don't get me wrong, it's not some huge burgeoning number. Oh, okay. You paint part-time alongside your day job too? Yeah, it's really fulfilling. I enjoy it, and I'm pretty sure you do too, since you have monetized it. But most of the people that frequent my channel are definitely, I've got, I think, Sweden, Germany, a lot from Britain. I think I've had one from Finland. So a lot of Europe. Most of the people who follow me are from Europe. And I'm kind of tickled by that because I don't know why that's the case. The best I can think of is that I started... well, I mean, Warhammer is more for the opportunity to paint stuff I'll never do myself, and it's just the time zones. That's fair. Yeah, because, you know, it's 5:30 where I am right now, and that means in about an hour I'll be stopping for dinner, but for you guys, it's closer to later in the evening. And one of my first regular followers, I actually met him through another stream, which has nothing to do with Warhammer, but he found out that I was streaming via Warhammer, so he started tuning in to have something to just kind of mellow out to before he went to bed. And I guess that's kind of been the vibe of this. It's just being super chill while listening to a dude ramble a little and paint. And yeah, I think going further back with the flames was a good idea. These are going to be so dynamic. And they're going to look so good. Timing probably is 10:30, so it's our winding down time. Yeah, that makes sense. I feel like kind of a nutter butter because I basically get home. I'm like I said, I'm a school teacher. I get home, I kind of wash my dishes and whatnot from work, and say hi to the dog, say hi to the wife, see how her day's been, make sure she's doing okay. And then I come down here and I paint for about an hour or so, and then I go have dinner and chill with her for the rest of the evening. And so far, it's been working okay. And I'm trying to make sure that I'm not, you know, losing time with the misses and whatnot. But definitely a thing where it's I choose an odd time to do this, I feel, but that's okay. That being said, I did this already once before, and I'm gonna do it again just because my wife is also an artist. She's far better than I am because she went to school for it and is just a more talented person. But she sells D&D stuff. She sells a lot of nerd stuff. So I'm gonna go ahead and throw this back in here. It is her Etsy store. Feel free to look at it. Don't feel obligated to buy anything. But if there's anything you see in there that catches your eye, then I hope it makes you happy. But yeah, she does very fun designs. I like my wife's stuff a lot, and I'm glad that she's decided to make that into a career. Okay, let's go ahead and brighten this up a little because that first layer was a little thin, and then I can start hitting it with these lighter colors. I think a constant favorite of people's from my wife is, and from Art by QB and her stuff, is she has a cleric hammer, like a big holy sledgehammer, and it says I'd hit that underneath. And it's just really well designed and well made, so that's a thing. But I'm just gonna keep trying to make sure that the flames reach far enough back on this. I was a little worried that if I went too far back, it would just end up being completely white, but I think I can make enough layers of these other colors to really extend out the brightness and really make it sell, hopefully. So let's go ahead and glaze back into that. Get back into there. go. If I end up spending this entire time working on this thing, I'm going to be a little surprised, but at the same time, it's turning out really good, so I can't feel too bad about it. Okay. I keep forgetting I lowered my camera, so trying to... What the heck? So trying to keep it level is still a strange... Still a bit off. As a longtime D&D player, appreciate the Nat 1 D20 pin. Yeah, I know, right? Thanks, I hate it. She has really good design ideas. And so I thank you for looking, by the way. I greatly appreciate you guys checking it out. I just really like my wife's stuff, and I want her to succeed. So anytime I can, I will shamelessly advertise her things and try and help draw eyes to her store. She usually sells at conventions and the like, and I go with her and I help her table, which is incredible fun because I'm used to seeing conventions from the other side of the table. And I'm kind of weird. As soon as I get my saturation point on something, I'm done with it, and then I don't know what to do with myself. And that tends to happen about halfway through day 2 of a convention for me. And then I'm just stuck in the situation of, okay, I've seen everything I need to see, what do I do now? And then I get bored, and I feel like I've wasted money. And it's because I don't go to as many panels and whatnot as I could. But tabling for my wife... and it kind of gives me purpose, and so I feel like I'm having a better time at the convention because I'm there to help her as opposed to just kind of wander around and throw more money around. But then again, I haven't gone to what I would consider like a truly good convention in a little while, so maybe we'll have time to do that. Let's see, let's go ahead and add some of that. Yeah, pale pink white is going to go into this and make it look fantastic. And then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to accentuate some of the curves in the skin folds on this thing. Let's see what I can do. Come on, come on, come on, come on, come on. Yeah. Just gonna go ahead and slowly build back up to that pure white, but only in some of the spaces. So one of the things that I have not done as much as I'd like to is actually play the game of Warhammer. I've played it a couple times. It's been an experience. I want to play it more, but it's such a time commitment that I'm not sure I have that kind of time to put into it. And so that's been one of the off-putting things, but I have heard that 10th edition... I've heard two things. I've heard one is that, like, they're not gonna reboot the game like they did with 8th edition again anytime soon. Just cleaning brushes, love the store, some great bits in there. Very cool. Thank you. I'm glad that there was something enjoyable for everyone in there. But what was I just thinking? My mind just stopped. I've heard some rumors swirling around that they're going to reboot 40K with 10th edition and try and streamline it even further. And I'm not a long-time player. I've only gotten into the game around the pandemic. Nugs and Hugs is my favorite. Yeah. I'm always tickled by that one because depending on who you are, that has like a multifaceted meaning, right? For my wife, she's a big fan of chicken nuggets. And so when she thinks of Nugs and Hugs, she thinks of that. She thinks of, buying chicken nuggets and just having a good time with friends. But more recently, she's realized that that's also a term for pot. So it has that other connotation to it. Yeah, geez Louise. 8 years is a long time to be out of the game, but if that's, I don't know as well, what kind of knocked you out of it? Was it just lack of interest, lack of people playing? Did you just not like the direction it was going in? I'm not here to judge. That's not what this place is for. This is a judgment-free zone. I just like hearing other people's opinions, especially people who have played in the game a lot longer. And yeah, that I don't want to call it a gaffe, because her I don't think she knew anything about that at the time, and it just ran with it. But it's kind of like there's a YouTuber named Bailey J, and she's an artist. She makes beautiful art, and she has a video log where she just talks about her day and about what she's doing and whatnot. And unfortunately, she shares the name with a very famous porn star, and so that's been a thing that apparently used to pop up. But now that the porn star has gotten a little older and retired, I think a lot of my friend groups stopped playing. I got in around 2005-ish and was real into the gaming for all the Warhammer game, but as I got older, painting is the attraction. That's fair. I like the idea of Warhammer, and I like the idea of the game, but the actual playing of the game is far less appealing to me. I follow Bailey J. She does good stuff. I'm glad you know who that is. I felt weird being like, hey, my wife follows artists who named like porn star. This is a thing I'm talking about. Welcome to Ben Repaints, where I talk about artists who have the names of porn stars and pot. But anyway, sorry. Yeah, she does. I dabble more in other games such as Bolt Action, which is a more interesting game. I thought about that. I don't have anyone to play it with over here, because most of my friends who are into the wargaming, either I got them into it, or they have limited interest in other games or limited funds for other games. So something like Bolt Action, while it seems interesting for me, I don't have a whole lot of people to join in with that interest. They're more into the 40K, which is perfectly fine. There's nothing wrong with that. But that's because they've invested as much money as they feasibly can into 40K, and they really can't afford a secondary miniatures game, you know? I used to work for Games Workshop about 20, 15 years back. The game moved away from what I found fun, so mostly kept painting. Okay, so now I'm gonna ask a question you've probably gotten a lot. I don't know. I have no idea what's going on half the time. But I'm really curious. Like, what was your key enjoyment for the game, and what did they remove? Like, what? I can talk. I'm sorry. I'm excited. What did they start taking out of the game that you enjoyed? Say cost for entry to Bolt Action was pretty low for us in the UK, at least. Yeah, I mean, it's all relative, right? Unfortunately, I live in a city where the income is not great unless you are in one of those really lucky positions. So, like, one of my friends, the one who I would most likely try and get into a game like that, he works as a school bus driver, and he's barely making above minimum wage and barely surviving to scrape by. The other person who might be interested, he's got a wife and 2 kids, and even though we're both school teachers, he just is not pulling the kind of money to get another hobby like that. So we're just kind of stuck where we are, which is fine. We've been using our models to play one-page rules, which is definitely a lot more simple, a lot more streamlined, and for the main person I play against, that's a whole lot better, because he has a form of ADHD that makes some of the overlapping things for 40K way too overwhelming for him, which is completely understandable. Probably the worst of it is that he chose Mechanicum, or Adeptus Mechanicus, to play. It was scale. I'm used to an army being 4 to 5 units, a couple characters, maybe a monstrous unit. And it feels... Actually, I don't know. The game may have gotten bigger, because I know that points cost, especially now, they've reduced down. Really, I guess there's pretty big blockers for new games and systems. For me, it was the rules bloat and the expansions and the constant books to stay relevant. Oh my god, yeah. And the meta list building. As someone who enjoys reading about that, I wish it didn't exist and the game became a couple small units and a big monster, and that'd be it on the table. Yeah. That's definitely a big problem. I feel like between the two of you guys, you kind of nailed what I dislike about the game and why I don't like playing it, is that it's so easy to find the meta list where they take advantage of, you know, the collective effort of the internet to break the game. and then that just ends up being a huge problem for everyone, because now you've got one guy with this tournament list, and now you've got to play against that tournament list, which takes you away from the army you want to build and the game you want to play, and now you're just kind of in an arms race against each other. And that is hands down my least favorite thing about any game, to be completely honest. And so that's a huge reason why we moved over to one-page rules, is that as far as I know, and as far as I choose to know, there is no meta for one-page rules. Time and a place for it, and I guess everyone takes their own enjoyment for the hobby, but I always loved a themed or narrative list or game. Yes, exactly. The thing that drew me to this game was just imagining stories in my head, right? And especially once I started reading the fiction. Feel how you must about the fiction, but for me personally, it was definitely a huge thing that helped me really contextualize what was going on in game and really made me enjoy it. I started on the deep end, and I started with the Horus Heresy. The first 40k book I ever read was Horus Rising, and I do not regret it. But it definitely is a very stiff barrier to entry there. And it set a whole lot of expectations for the world and how things interact and what I was hoping to get out of the tabletop. And unfortunately, current 40k plays nothing like I thought it would. But that's a whole nother thing. Me and Niscross know each other IRL and for a long time now, we had some great times playing games with just random fluffy lists. I feel like that's the way to play. Like, one of my favorite things that they did with 40k, but I was really never able to get off the table, was the Crusade stuff. Yeah, exactly. Rule of cool. Just doing what you felt like your units and armies should be doing and how they should be building based on whatever headcanon you have for your faction, right? And to me, that's fantastic. That's what I want to do. And that's kind of what, from what I understand, what Crusade was supposed to bring to the table. But you need a lot of people for Crusade. And unfortunately, trying to get all my friends to buy into a game where you need $150, $200 to start an army was just not feasible. One moment. Something's drying too slow, so I'm going to hairdryer it. And so that was kind of my thing, was I really wanted to do fluffy lists that were more about lore and more about the journey that my models went through to get to where they were, and to have the battle honors they did and the like. And we tried, but you need a bookkeeper for that. And if I'm bookkeeping the entire Crusade as well as trying to come up with the scenarios, and it becomes really hard to bookkeep my own army. And that kind of fell out of favor for those specific reasons. But it is totally unrelated. What do you use as a camera? My phone. I have a Samsung Galaxy Note 20, and so I've got it up on an articulated arm that I bought. And the thing that really helps with the lighting, I don't know if it's that you like my lighting or you don't, but I have one of those long bar desk lamps. Airbrush. One moment. Give me a second. Let me drain out my airbrush. I know. I actually found out from talking to a salesman that one of the big things that makes a phone cost so much is the camera. I don't know how much he was joking, but he said that, you know, the $800, $1,000 cameras would be half as much, or the phones, I'm sorry, the $800, $1,000 phones would be half the price if they just removed the camera. And that was one of my favorite visits to the phone store, because we were just kind of talking. We were waiting for something to get done, and so we were chatting with the phone salesman, and we started, you know, hey, so what do you do for a living? And my wife at the time, she's still my wife, but at the time I'm using an old Huawei P30 Pro through a webcam app. Yeah, that's kind of what I'm doing. I've got it with one moment, what is it called? Camo Studio. I'm I'm using Camo Studio, and I'm running it through OBS. And for a while, I had a fixed focal length, and I realized that wasn't working very well because I move my models around a lot when I paint. And so I put it on the variant focal length, and it seems to be working okay now. But my wife was talking to the phone salesman, the phone clerk, whatever you call them, associate, that doesn't matter, and talking about how she sells D&D art, like I showed you. And he laughed. He was like, yeah, no, I understand what that is. I know what you're talking about. And then kind of sheepishly he went, I paint Warhammer minis. And suddenly we had a whole lot more to talk about in the store. Recently discovered an app called Iruin. I'm sorry, English teacher, not very articulate after work. We'll have to look into Camo Studio. Thanks for sharing. Yeah, I like it. I think it's pretty good. The biggest thing about Camo Studio is that the initial setup is kind of a bear. I struggled with. Okay, that's good. I feel less silly now. It takes a couple of attempts to get it to set up right, and then you've got to wait for a second for it to recognize that there's a phone there. But it runs off of a desktop app and a phone app that you can install via Android, and I've had very few problems with it. It's got a lot of adjustable settings on there, and I think they work pretty well. I don't have a whole lot more to add about it, other than I want to get something better because I really like the idea of having a longer lens for better image capture. And I thought I could use my DSLR for that, but my DSLR was released in like 2013, so it doesn't have an HDMI cable port. So I've got to buy a new DSLR and a capture card and this, that, the other. Whoops! I just smudged the heck out of that. But yeah, so it was really neat finding out that the person who was helping sell us our phones painted Warhammer minis and apparently played Dark Angels. But he's a longtime fan of Warhammer, and his father actually used to own a game store, so he has a lot of the old metal minis and the like. And yeah, it was just it's neat finding out that there are a lot more people in the hobby than you would expect, you know. Okay, I think I'm exploring the same DSLR setup, but it's getting cost prohibitive. Yeah, I think to get it all set up, it would cost about $600 on my end, so maybe about £500 for you guys. Because a good mirrorless camera, I think Olympus makes a mirrorless camera that's more specifically for vlogging, and it would work for what we're trying to do. Yeah. Yeah, because part of the problem is, obviously, the batteries aren't very good, so you need to buy one of those, what are they called? Like, trickle charge batteries. I gotta say, that turned out a whole lot better than I expected. My only problem now is because I did it after doing all the other ones, I don't remember how I mixed the paints to get the flames the color they are on these other ones. And it's too bright and vibrant compared to the glazes that I put over, thank you, that I put over the rest of the mini. So I'm just gonna have to try and glaze the crap out of them too. I feel like skill-wise, I'm at the point where I've learned that I can kind of do a bunch of cool things, and so I'm trying them all and failing modestly at only a couple of them. Because this was a lot rougher looking when I first got to it, and I'm still so new and inexperienced with the painting, with like these advanced techniques, that I'm not sure what they're supposed to look like, so I never know when I need to stop. And obviously that's going to get me in trouble until I figure it out, but that's fine. I've been painting for maybe 3 years now, and I just started earlier late last year trying to do some of the more advanced things like blending and glazing and learning non-metallic metals. And I decided to jump into the deep end of the pool with non-metallic metals because I really wanted to learn, since I like how they look. I know they're kind of trendy right now, but I'm just impressed with the feigned illusion of shine. You know what I mean? And so I found out that my local game store was having a painting competition, and I decided I've got the money, I'm going to enter. And what you needed to do was buy a model from them within the time frame, and then if you won, you got credit that was like 15% of the model's cost, or the unit's cost, or whatever you were doing. And I figured I'd enter in a couple different categories. I'm not doing that again because I ended up winning in 2 of the 3 categories. I didn't enter the first one, but one of the models I decided to paint was Gilliman. Your stuff is real good for that time painting. I've been doing this since I was a teen, but only recently tried to elevate these past few years. I thank you. I really appreciate it. I don't know a lot of people who are more experienced, more skilled in the hobby, so hearing that from you definitely feels really damn good. Thank you. But I've also been doing this obsessively. If I'm not doing something with my wife, if I'm not exercising or at work, I'm basically painting. So I've spent a lot of time learning how to do these things. I've been painting for 31 years. I'm still learning these. And yeah, I know, right? I feel like non-metallic metal. First of all, I saw this comic that joke that people who paint non-metallic metals are basically the vegans of mini painting, because it's like, how do you know if someone paints non-metallic metal? They'll tell you. And I've obviously just lived up to that. But what was I thinking? My brain died again. I'm on like 3 different paths right now. Oh, the sales clerk. I'm sorry. I want to share about the but no. Okay, non-metallic metal painting contest. And kind of stuck in my old ways. That's fair. I mean, you get used to a certain way, and it's really hard to break that habit, right? So when I was at the store, I was like, okay, I'll enter, and I ended up buying a Gilliman and deciding that I was going to learn how to paint NMM on Gilliman. And I don't regret my choice. It was definitely a learning experience. The best part about it was that weekend, my parents were going out of town and they needed someone to watch their pup. So I brought my painting stuff up to their house and spent the entire day just working on Gilliman's trim and practicing non-metallic metal. And it got me to a level of comfort where I didn't feel terrible trying non-metallic metal. Do I have pictures of it? Instagram account? Anything? Many things. I have pictures of it, and I have the actual model nearby. Give me a second. Now, the actual model, he won for his first placement, which was large-scale models, I believe. And I was completely chuffed that I won in that, and I also won with some Plague Marines. Or not Plague Marines, what the heck are they called? Death Shroud Terminators. That I had used Guy from Midwinter Mini's speed painting technique, and then I just went back and highlighted the crap out of them. Oh my god, I forgot. I used a full like 18 megapixel camera for this picture. It's so big. Okay, here we go. Boom. There's Gilliman. I went back and touched him up when I felt a little more comfortable. But I basically, on the fly, learned non-metallic metal and blending for the sword based off of some YouTube videos that I found. And I think he looks pretty darn good given that level of skill. Now, that picture was very well framed and photographed by someone who knew what they were doing, so it clearly elevates him. But one moment, where did I put... Oh, wait, is he over there? No. Where is Robert Gorilla Man? In less flattering light, this is Gilliman. I mean, he still looks great, especially now that I'm getting to look at him again. But yeah, he definitely should. There's definitely some newbie experience happening there. Thank you, I appreciate it. I definitely didn't start mini painting until my buddy introduced me to mini painting about 4 years ago. I think my favorite thing I did with him, though, is check this out. Ha! Hey, Isidore, how's it going? I'm decapitating Gilliman. Haha! I magnetized his friggin' neck.
I got tired of, or I liked both of the helmets, so I hollowed out I cut off the stump and hollowed it out, and I put a little magnet down here so I can just put the helmet down there when I need to, and I can just slap his head on. And I don't play Ultramarines, but I figured he's a really cool model, and it would be super cool to paint him, so that's what I did. One moment. You guys got me, seriously distracted, and that's okay. So here's a... Oh, the Forge World Guilliman. I have feelings about that one. And I talked to my wife about it because she doesn't just tolerate my love of Warhammer, she actively encourages it and is an active listener with it, which I greatly appreciate. And we were talking about the different Forge World models, and she has a problem with the Guilliman one. And that's that between his Power Fist and the whatchamacallit? I'm sorry, my brain just died. And his, like, the rest of his base, he's made to be like the smallest thing on the base, and that makes him look smaller because of it. He doesn't look powerful like a Primarch should look, right? And I kind of agree with her, because I always wondered, why does Guilliman look so tiny on his on his display? And that's pretty much the reason. He's kind of one of the smaller objects on the display. But I'll be honest with you, that wouldn't stop me from, you know, having a cat if I suddenly came into ownership of one. Wait a minute, is this what I think it is? I can't tell because of how... Okay, well that's going to get painted that. But I don't know, I think all of the prime... Actually, I just found out today on one of the subreddits that the print of, or the sculpt of Fulgrim was not the original sculpt. They had another alternate sculpt that they rejected in favor of that one. And I'm really sad they did, because the original sculpt was fantastic, and the new one is not. I'm not very fond of the current Fulgrim Forge World sculpt. Okay, so here's a question. Should I have the flame going towards his butt or coming from his butt? What do you guys think? Pointing at his butt or pointing away from his butt? Should it look like his tail's on fire or that he just farted Mexican? From his butt. Fantastic. Yeah, that would make sense because that's where the base is. So I'm just going to go ahead and paint these little dealies right her. And I love that there's full agreement there. Thank you, fellas. Now, I guess the next thing is, should I do individual flames for each panel, or should it, like, go all the way? No, I think I'm going to do individual from each panel, like little smaller ones, because I've done enough large-scale ones. One of my favorite models I have is a 3D print. I found a naughty man on the internet who has made proxies of some of the Primarchs. And, hey, Snow Twig, how's it going? Haven't seen you in a while. How you doing? But he did I'm an Imperial Fist painting. I'm doing great. The painting's going great. This is a Demon Prince, one of the new sculpts, and this is actually a commission that I'm doing. The person who did it, who wanted the commission, wanted dark purple armor with flames coming out of the armor. So I've been learning on the fly how to do flames, and so far it's been turning out pretty darn good. But I found 3D printed proxies of some of the Primarchs, and I am an Imperial Fist player who doesn't want to spend $140 on Rogel Dorn yet. So, I was very excited when I found out that he had done a Rogel Dorn proxy. And I'll be honest with you guys, the thing that got me into... You've been doing okay? That's good to hear. Glad to hear that you're doing fine. I can't see where I made the flames. That's okay. So what got me into 40K, what really attracted me to 40K was watching If the Emperor Had a Text-to-Speech Device, which puts me, I guess, on a special level of silly. But, I really liked Rogel Dorn in that. His humor, his delivery, everything about him kind of struck home with me. And so when I bought some Space Marines from the Indomitus box, I decided to paint them like Imperial Fists.
because I really wanted to do everything the hardest way. I also painted my Tau white and got them when they were the worst army in the game. Yes. But, I found a GoFundMe where someone had actually made 3D sculpts of some of the characters. So when I put together my Forge World proxy of Rogel Dorn, I made him look like this. And it makes me so very happy that I own a Rogel Dorn with, yes, with that forge, or with that sculpted head. This is one of my favorite models, and eventually, when I buy the real Forge World one, I'm going to paint the proper head, and I'm going to put it somewhere else on display, but I am going to print another one of these ones, and my Rogel Dorn is going to have the mutton chops. He's going back with the rest of my fists. And I'm going to put these away, and I'm going to get back to really focusing on painting. Magnus and Kitten. There is a Kitten, but he's naked. There's a 3D print of Kitten, but he is very definitely in the form where the Emperor has like ripped his clothes off because he thought Kitten was racist and was going to mock his skin color until he found out that Kitten was black. And when he was talking about the salamanders being black, he meant like obsidian black. So that was the one they made. They also made the other Pillar Men. So Wamudes, Karstodes, and Custodices. They have all of those, which I've actually printed and given to Soft Servo, who really likes them. Got a dash, cats to feed, bed for work tomorrow. Thanks for the chat. I'll be sure to make a return visit. Thank you for joining, Risky Paints. Have a good rest of your evening. I'm going to head off, getting late, and I have work tomorrow. Nice meeting you. Definitely catch another stream if I see you online. Thank you very much, guys. I'm usually on stream from 5 my time till about 6:30. So have a good one, guys. Okay, more flames. More flames. But yeah, all I'm doing right now is painting flames on here. Thank you, you too. Okay. Good night, guys. Thanks for joining me. That was a lot of fun. I enjoy meeting people on this because these are friends that I would never have had if not for this hobby, and I think that's super freaking cool. Okay. But yeah, like I said, the client wanted flames. And actually, I think what I need to do with this, I feel like these flames are weird coming from the front and this one going all the way to the side. I think I'm just going to circle around the calf, the front of the shin, because otherwise it looks silly to me. So I'm going to completely repaint that, which actually won't take me that long, thankfully, because the client chose such a dark color. I could just go completely over it. How am I doing the flames? Very carefully. My understanding is that fire burns whiter the closer it is to the source, right? And so, what I'm doing is I'm taking the color I eventually want to be the flames, like in this case, I don't know how well you can see it, purple, and I'm drawing like the largest outline of the fire, right? And I'm backfilling it, and then I'm mixing the purple in with another color, which in this case is pink, and which is, you know, lightening up the purple. And then I'm gonna go back kind of under what I've already painted and fill it back in with like a rough outline. So it's not going to be perfect because, you know, flames are ever moving. They're not going to be perfect, but it does create like this outline of the darker color as it's moving further away from the light source. And as you go closer to the light source, you've got this kind of brighter source of it, right? I'm sorry, the language centers are not firing. I'm very tired. But yeah, so if you do this right, it ends up making it look like the tongues are kind of flicking out from the light source. And you can kind of shape it however you need to shape it. So it's going to go from that dark purple up into a lighter purple, which is then going to move into a pink, which is then going to move into a white. And actually, since you're right here, I can show you this as I'm working on it. So you see I've got, I don't know, like I said, I don't know if you can really see it, but I'm gonna get my hand out of the way. But there's a purple, like, gross flame outline, and then there's now a pink inner outline, and now there's going to be an even brighter pink inner line of this, and I don't want them to match up exactly because, like I said, they don't. So just about anything that kind of fills in that area will be fine. And then from there, I'm gonna move into a paler pink that I'm gonna dilute down with some white, because I'm eventually gonna move back to a pure white. And so the next layer of this, the next, is going to end up being much brighter. And thankfully, again, since flames are not regular, they don't follow a true pattern, it doesn't have to look perfect. But you can see now you're starting to get more of the extra fire going on in between these. And actually, I can probably go further out with that. Let's tweak this a bit. Yeah, that's what I want. And then mix that back in. I'm gonna wet blend a little of this together. And then eventually I'll go back to a pure white, and I'm just gonna fleck it in there to show that there's like instances of pure white hot heat coming from the flames. But that's kind of what I'm doing. That's kind of how it's going. Whether it's gonna look good or not, I can't really tell you. That's gonna be up to the client, whether they like it or not. That's kind of how the flames are getting done all over the model. And I guarantee you there are going to be artists out there who have really good tutorials on how to do flames a lot better. But that's where my brain goes as I do these. And honestly, I don't like that one. That one got a little messy and out of hand. So I'm going to try and refine this a little bit. There we go. That's considerably better. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and take that, push that back up a bit. Gonna go even further. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do the other side too. I feel like I have not given the other side enough. Now, this is where I'm still kind of learning it. I'm being very restrained with how far out these flames are going, and I really need to kind of let it loose, because otherwise they're going to end up looking very small and shriveled on the armor, right? So maybe I should just go ahead and let them really extend out, and that way that gives me more room to play with the internals of the flame. Okay. Now my biggest problem is, since these are such a small area, I'm not really giving them time to dry, and that's making it so some parts of it are smudging really bad. So what I probably should be doing, what would be the advised thing to do, would be to go down all of the panels one by one and kind of let them each individually dry as I work on one specific phase and layer of the fire. Which is what I think I'm gonna do, because I don't want to fight that one layer over and over again and get kind of caught up in it. So I'm gonna go ahead and do some of that. Some paint there. And I want to emphasize, I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just kind of making this up as I'm going along and hoping that it's going to turn out okay. And if it does, cool. If it doesn't, if I find that I'm struggling, I'm going to do what every intelligent person eventually does. I'm going to look for help. Because the internet is a vast place, and YouTube has so many great tutorials to work off of. Okay. What else can I do here? What more damage can I do to this thing? I'm kind of wondering when the point on this is finally going to go. It's starting to hook. It's starting to hook a little bit, but it's still very usable. Just, I remember not being very fond of Games Workshop brushes because they tended to wear down very quickly. Though I think I might have mentioned this before, I discovered the reason why mine did that is because I used to treat them way too harsh. So, learning to baby my brushes definitely, hopefully, will allow them to last a lot longer. I won't have to be fighting against inferior brush builds caused by my own violence. Okay, I can't even make out what I did here. Can I? Yes, I can. Perfect. Okay. Pardon the bad angle. Just trying to really find the right angle to get this thing at. I have kind of come to the conclusion that I'm never going to finish my backlog, which means I need to stop buying minis. But I keep seeing ones that I've wanted for a while, and now that I'm doing this commission stuff, I have a little bit of extra money, and so some of it ends up going to that. Like, I'm nowhere near done with those Custodies that I've been working on. But then I saw that the Escher girls were within an affordable price, and I ended up buying those. And they're like half assembled. I didn't finish assembling the Custodes Combat Patrol. It's still half assembled. Just part of being a Warhammer painter, I guess, is having a giant pile of shame, which should not be glorified. I don't want to sound like I'm glorifying having it. It's a huge waste of money. Okay, so... I think after I do this, I'm going to look up a tutorial on how to paint flames. I'm not very happy with how these look. They look very sawtoothed. And I feel like the client deserves better than that type of basic flaming. If you know what I mean. Yeah, something I have seen generally when you're trying to do light sources is to go over with a darker color, like with a thicker line, and then trace inside that thicker line with a lighter color. And then once you got decent enough coverage from that, trace inside that line with an even lighter color. Hopefully the brightest one you got, because that will end up being like your light source. And that generally does a good job of representing a glow, right? And to be honest, that's what I did right here. I started with like a dark purple, and then I painted over it with a lighter purple, and then I painted over it with a pale purple, and then I kind of edge highlighted with a pure white. And that's what created that glow effect. Once again, whether it was a successful glow effect or not, that's gonna be up to the client. Hey, Game Master's Vault. I didn't realize you were viewing. Thank you for the follow. I'm closing in. I'm like not close yet, but I'm closing in on 100 followers. And if that happens, I might just. I think I know what I'm gonna do for that. I think. Unless it's something crazy like a Forge World model, I'm gonna ask the my 100th follower, like, what model would you like me to paint for you? And then I will buy it, and I will paint it on stream, and then I will send it to him. That is what I'm considering. I considered doing that for my 50th follower, but it happened so fast that I never had time to really think about it, and I was also not in the financial place to do that. But I think I'm gonna do something like that, depending on my workflow. For my 100th follower. Because right now I'm not making any money off of this, other than, you know, the painting of other people's stuff for commission. Oh, yay. Thank you for agreeing. I'd like to do something like that, because I have my own things I enjoy painting, and those are the things I spend my money on, and there are a ton of things that I would never paint. Like, for example, I would never have bought this Demon Prince. It doesn't fit with any of the armies I'm doing. I do have a Death Guard army, but trying to branch out into like Nurgle, don't really think about it, you know? But since I'm doing this for a commission, not only do I get to do Slaanesh, which I've never done, but I get to do all these cool things that I've never done, like the Flames. So I'm really enjoying the aspect of this that involves me forced out of my comfort zone and getting paid to do it. You don't play Warhammer, so it went over my head. That's fair. So there's a Space Marine army called the Death Guard, and they're evil. Well, everything's evil, but they follow a plague god called Nurgle, so they're all about rot and decay and filth and that kind of thing. And they can ally in game with demons of Nurgle, which are kind of their own army. And so that army is full of like these bloated, zombified things, right? And one of the things you can take for the army of chaos demons is a demon prince, which is this guy. And this specific one has 4 different heads for each of the 4 gods of Warhammer. And this one is Slaanesh, which is meant to be like pleasure and sensation. So it's supposed to be somewhat, since it's the easiest to visually represent, it's supposed to be somewhat sexual. Hence the flicking of the tongue, but you've also got that hint of pain with like the piercings and the horns and everything. Because it's all about reaching the highest level of sensation. Nurgle's all about death and decay and finality. So that one's more of like an insect head with bug eyes. But, and I could technically put that in my army, but I don't have any other chaos demons, so it would be by itself, and that's silly. Warhammer is neat. I enjoy Warhammer. I enjoy the lore behind Warhammer. Yeah, he's not very smexy. He's not meant to be, like, conventionally smexy. The idea is that, and this model is using a baseline model body, so that definitely doesn't help with it. But the thing about Slaanesh is it's supposed to make you uncomfortable. Like, everything is supposed to be done to the degree of that's way too much, right? So, a lot of the Slaanesh demons have very sensual looks. And I don't mean like they're physically attractive, but they've got things that would be considered physically attractive. Like they've got lithe bodies and curvy hips, and they're mildly androgynous. So they have, you know, maybe one male breast and one female breast, and their faces have what would be considered conventionally attractive features if they weren't so extreme. Think someone who has done way too many like plastic surgery on their face and body to try and look attractive, but it clearly hasn't worked. That's the idea of Slaanesh, and followers of Slaanesh are constantly trying to look for new highs and greater pleasures and the like. And that's why, like this one, you can see he's got like the high let me find it. They've got the high cheekbones, which when they're done properly are supposed to be really attractive, and it's got the thin face, but at the same time, it's got like the long tongue, which in itself is supposed to be a sexual thing, I guess, but it's barbed, and it's got these horns pierced through it, and it's got the, you know, all of the things. So it's not meant to be conventionally attractive. It's meant to be a perversion of conventional attractiveness. Sorry, trailed off there. And that idea is not something I'm too down with. It creeps me out really bad. But I think as a concept, it's really neat. There's an entire Space Marine Legion called the Emperor's Children that fell to Slaanesh because they were in the pursuit of perfection. They were a smaller legion than their brothers, and so they realized they needed to make up for that by trying to accomplish more, right? They needed to be better than their other legions in every way, shape, and form. They needed to be more aesthetic, they needed to have better form, they needed to conquer faster, they needed to have better art. Everything about them had to be better. And that just constant pursuit of that eventually caused them to overextend and find a demon cult that worships Slaanesh, and then they ended up falling to Slaanesh whether they wanted to or not, because chaos is insidious. It's like Cthulhu and Eldritch Horror, and that it just worms its way into your brain, and by the time you realize that you're caught in its snare, it's too late. And I think that's super neat, because of all of the legions that fell in the history of the Warhammers, the Emperor's Children are the ones that definitely seem to enjoy it the most. And so they're like deliciously evil. They're the worst type of evil. And they're having a good time the entire time. So it's like, you're evil, but you embrace it, and that's cool. But that also means I feel even less bad about killing you on the tabletop. And so that's why I enjoy them so much. They have weapons called sonic cannons, and they have a unit called Noise Marines. And the Noise Marines basically use horrifically offensive sonic noises, sonic sounds, to flay the skin off their enemies. So it's like a dubstep cannon. And that's really funny to me. Because it makes me think of the dubstep gun from Saints Row. And that's just their MO, is being way over the top and really silly and really dumb and really extreme and taking it really seriously, but not really. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and do the white, brighter source of light back closer to the base where it would be kind of emanating from. And I'm eventually going to have to go. It's getting close to dinner time for me. And I'm kind of surprised I haven't heard from my wife yet. Usually she texts me around now, but she might be taking some personal time with her headphones and her music. But I'm actually, now that I'm looking at it, I'm kind of liking how these tails, or how the flames on the tail are coming out. Hope the client ends up liking it. I have this thing where, like, I'm my own worst critic, and I think I've talked about it quite a bit on this channel, but I you know, when you're too close to a work, you see all the flaws that no one else is ever going to notice. That's kind of where I am with a lot of things. I have that anxiety of, oh no, I did it wrong, and I notice it, and that means they're going to notice it. But, doesn't really happen a whole lot. So if you're thinking about painting, and you're worried about it not looking good, just remember that most people aren't going to know the process and aren't going to care. They're just going to be happy that you enjoyed yourself and painted something you liked, right? So please guys, gals, non-binary pals, all of that fun stuff, please just go enjoy the thing you're doing. Do things that make you happy. Don't hurt others, right? That's all it kind of boils down to. Okay, flames on the tail are done. I think I'm happy with them, but I also think maybe I want to redo them. I'm going to go look up some tutorials. I love the flames on the arm. I love the fact that I got the glint on the arms. I need to actually... Oh, that's good. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm going to go ahead and redo a bit of the arm, because the bone on it did not turn out how I wanted it to, because I never finished doing it. So we're going to go ahead and do some quick highlights on the bone and really sell the fact that it's actually got little bits of sinew on it. Well, not sinew, but like cracks, right? And I can't do that unless you can clearly see it. So, go ahead and hit that with a highlight. And I'm doing very tiny highlights, and that's for a purpose. Eventually, they're going to be built up and brightened as I continue working. Right now, they need to be very tiny. That's what I'm talking about. Painted 36 minis last month, D&D minis. I have such a backlog, I had to get to work on them. That's impressive and fantastic. Congratulations. That's a lot of minis. Especially D&D ones. D&D ones are all, like, unique. And so, trying to find a consistent paint scheme across them and trying to make that all work, that's just insane. You have hundreds. Wow. Good luck. They're just table-ready standard, nothing fancy, but I'm the pro. I mean, I don't want to sound flippant, but who cares, right? You're happy with them. As long as you're happy with them and they make your players happy, then who cares? It's all about having fun. And if you're having fun, then no one can take that away from you. And if they do, they're jerks. And they can go pound sand. The fact that you got 36 minis painted over the past month is really impressive, because that takes a lot of dedication and patience. So congrats on that. Feel proud of it. Feel proud of the fact that you've got this incredible library of minis that you can get to painting at some point. And just when the mood strikes you, then you can go ahead and pick up the one that matters to you most at that moment, right? I've been working really hard to train myself out of feeling guilty for things that don't affect my life in any meaningful way. Like, I'd feel guilty if I wasn't paying my bills, or if I was neglecting my family. I'm not gonna feel guilty because I bought something that made me happy, and I haven't finished it yet, you know? And I don't think you should either. I think you should enjoy what you're doing. Slime gun. Hey, Red, good to see you. I'm just about to hop off. I do want to talk to you real quick though, because I have some things about the things that were one moment. Okay, so that can go away. I want to save that. Couple of things. One, I printed another. I printed another horse, and I will say it doesn't look much better. One of the biggest problems that came up with it is that this part right here it just broke, because it's they made it a very thin layer, and so it doesn't really do a good job of holding up to the curing process, and it just splits, which I'm a little bit annoyed about. And it looks like at the very least there's been a consistent break in the leg on the bottom part, and I can't get that to stay. So if that's okay with you, I'm gonna go ahead and send it as is, because that was my second attempt at printing, and it turned out the exact same way. I don't think I'm gonna be able to fix that because of the size of the model. So you'll have to let me know. Do you want me to give it one more print shot, or are you gonna be okay with this part missing on the leg? You know, some of these supports. Because that's been the one big thing that's annoyed the heck out of me about this. Everything else, I think, is doing amazing. The prints are coming out really good. They look fantastic. They are remarkably sturdy. The new resin that I got is so much better than the old resin I had. I think you're going to be very impressed with how solid these things feel. Come on. Yeah, like the fact that it took me 3 shots to chip off that little bit. This is solid resin. It's a mixture of Soriatec Blue, which is apparently a tool resin, and Soriatec Fast, and I've been very impressed. But I need answers. Are you going to be okay with the flaw in the print? I can try green stuff. Can you put a hold on saying I need another model from Atlan Forge? I'm not done yet. I just want to know which. Since you're okay with that, I can go ahead and toss the other one. I've got 4. Yeah, and I can definitely print you another model. That's fine. I've got 4 of the wolves printed, because is a unit of or 4 of the rams printed. Is a unit of Wolfen 2 Wolfen, or how many is in a unit? I don't know, because I don't play Space Wolves. And to be honest, it wouldn't actually be that hard to green stuff it now that I think about it. It's just a little, like, a third of a pea-sized hole in it. So if you were to put a very infinitesimal amount of green stuff in there, it would almost definitely fill the hole and be fine. How many was in the pic I sent? That's a good question. I think there were 2 rams. And you said you needed, I think you said you needed two units of Wolfen, but give me a second, let me check. Nope, I want Gmail. Oh my goodness. Whoa, they're live again. Okay, I'm gonna have to invade over there, and you guys can see who Doigan Swift are, because I love them to death. But let's see. Let's go back, way back on this message stream. Goodness, don't forget. Okay, so there are the bears. I've got all of those printed out except for the bits that I'm doing now. I have one more set of the bits that need to be done. Oh my goodness! Oh my goodness! I think, did you do it under the normal or did you do it in the showcase? I think you did it in the showcase. Wow, showcase got busy. There was a single ram in the picture that you sent. But I think in a unit of Wolfen, there are 2 Wolfen per unit. So I printed you 4. Let me look this back up. Okay, Space Wolves. Space Wolves, Wolfen. Oh, okay. No, there's 5 in a pack. Sent the pick an email. Okay. Wait, which I've got. This doesn't help. Okay. The last email I got from you just says, please mate. And there's no picture. It doesn't look like there's a picture attached to that one. You sent me a picture of the Whoozits, the captain. You said 2 rams, 2 wolfen squads, 1 mounted captain. Oh, so I just misread the dang thing. Okay. So yeah, you wanted 2 wolves. You're getting 4. You can throw the other 2 away, but if you have use for them, you can go ahead and use those. My apologies, that was my misunderstanding. I've been like obscenely tired the past few days, and I guess I just missed 2 squads. Okay. So, what are the unit of wolves? What are they called? I don't know Space Wolves. Okay, so Space Wolves. Because otherwise, I'm gonna need to print more rams, and that's not a problem. But I might need to print more rams. Oh, okay. So they have Cyber Wolves and they have Fenrisian Wolves. The 2 squads of Wolfen, those are the melee guys, right? Yeah, those are the melee guys. Are those the bears that just 2 rams? Okay. Okay, so I mean, I'll give you the 4. I've got them printed out. But yeah, I've got all of the bits for. I've got 10 torsos for the bear, the Ursus unit, and I'm in the process right now of printing the last set of bits for them. So once they're done, I'll wrap them up. And right now, you've got for me the 2 squads of bear people, Ursus, the rams, and the captain. So what was the last thing you needed? Because yeah, I'm not ready to send them to you yet. I probably won't be until at the earliest tomorrow. And I wasn't going to send them until you confirm with me that you wanted me to send them. Okay, is it being sent via the showcase or the emails? I've got way too many methods to reach me now. I mean, I'm fine with all of it, but I just need to know where it's coming from. Well, let's see. Which way is it coming at me? Phone's dead? Okay, that's fine. Let's see, what else is going on? I mean, that's perfectly fine. I'll look up how much it costs, and I'll let you know, and I'll get that thing printed out. I love this new resin. I love this new resin combination. It's fantastic. I love it. I love it. I love it. I think you're gonna love it too, because each of these pieces, they're so sturdy. They look great, and I'm just absolutely amazed at the level of detail that I'm able to get with them, and how sturdy they are. To even, like, I was able to pull the supports off of these little tips on the teeth on his, I mean, look at this. He's got these things here, and I mean, I wouldn't try and snap them off, but they don't feel fragile at all. They don't feel brittle. So you're gonna have plenty of fun bits to play. What resin am I using? It is Soriatec Fast with a 9 to 10 mix of Fast to Soriatec Blue, which is, I think I mentioned earlier, it's a resin used for tools. So it's got an incredible amount of strength if you were to just use that pure resin, but it's also twice as much as Soriatec Fast. That sounds good. That being said, I'm gonna, give me a second. But yeah, I'm glad that all works out. I hope you like these, because they're really cool. I think they're neat. But yeah, I was going to go ahead and raid Doig and Swift since they're actually streaming this late at night, but the stream died, and so I don't think I can. I'm holding out for a hero, but at the same time, I need to go upstairs and get dinner because my wife is ready to eat. But yeah, I'm really liking how this is turning out. I hope that the I think what I can do is, if I make these lines more narrow, it'll read more like flames. I think that's what I need to do. I'm really happy with how that gun turned out. That gun turned out fantastic. You thought you saw that? No, they were streaming for a second, and then when I popped back in, I noticed that there was no stream anymore. So, So yeah, I think I'm just gonna go ahead and hop off. I've got to go get dinner. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me. I really appreciate it. I have a lot of fun talking with you, and I'm glad that you guys enjoy my stream enough to hop back in and say hi. I will probably be back tomorrow. I don't know, but yeah, thanks a lot, guys. Red will communicate via email or Discord later, and I hope you guys had fun, and I hope you have a great rest of your evening. And later, bye bye.